2016 Port Orchard City Council regular meeting. Tonight we have special guests in the audience, Troop 1532, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes.
The approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to tonight's agenda?
Yeah, I did.
Yes, Councilmember Ashby.
Yes, I would like to make an amendment to the consent agenda, excusing Councilmans Chang and Kucharty for the evening.
Second it.
Got a motion and a second to excuse Council Members Chang and Kucharty and add that to the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Any other amendments or additions to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we will...
I will move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We're on to our first citizens' comment period. So this comment period is for items that are on the agenda this evening. So anyone wishing to address the council on items that are on the agenda, please step forward and identify yourself. You have 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Michelle Meath, and I'm here representing the McCormick Woods Homeowners Association. We have a special event application on the agenda for later this evening, and I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that I'm in the audience should you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for attending. Others wishing to address the council for items on the agenda this evening? Yes, Ms. Crouch. Okay, go ahead.
I'm here concerning a matter that's
Could you raise the microphone up just a little bit and speak into it?
Sorry.
Thank you, and identify yourself for the record.
Thank you. I'm Tadina Crouch. The address is 724 Hull Avenue in Port Orchard, Washington. And I'm here for something that's occurring on my street and my neighborhood. Houses above the street from me, there is someone who is asked to vacate city property so that they can have it, and they plan to pay for the city for a very reduced price. I am concerned that if we allow something like that to occur, it will be something that happens in other parts of the city as well. And it will be something that revisits you over and over again. I have talked to everyone in my neighborhood on that street of Hull Avenue to inform them about what's going on here tonight and what's going on in their neighborhood. And they have all signed a petition saying that this is something they do not want to have happen in our neighborhood. I'm concerned that the house that is closest to this, the people will not be able to use their garage effectively as they are now. If that street is vacated, the way it is platted, it will really affect his ability to use his own property, and that worries me for the future as well. The property that is before you is platted for 2 homes. And if you drive by and look at that property, what you're actually looking at includes the green belt that's in there, or the plattedness of the street. And so it looks much bigger than it actually is. If you look at the property lines, it's barely big enough for the 2 homes that have been there in the past, and certainly not big enough for 3 homes. I'm concerned about the increase in traffic. Although we don't think too much about 3 houses, you're talking about 6 cars in a very small, substandard street that's a very old part of this town. And when I look around, the part of town that I live in is an originally old part of this community, and it hasn't changed much over the years. So I'd ask you to consider that. I'm concerned about the speeding that already occurs on that street. And if there are more young children that come into that area, in order for them to catch the school bus, there is some danger to their safety. And that's something else you need to consider. It's my belief that the change that's being requested could negatively affect my part of that street, and it's something that once you do, you never get to take it back. So I would ask you to please consider my comments as you vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Richardson. I reside at 822 Hull Avenue, which is directly across the street from the property in question that also has the request for the easement of what's left of Smith Street. No house along Hull Avenue, Division, High Street, Sherman, and Melcher that all go along that route is on anything less than 2 tax plot parcels. If you look at the how it's plotted, and he is, to my understanding, he's wanting to put 3 houses in an area that originally has had 2, and in doing that would crowd it and it would mess up the aesthetics of our neighborhood. We also have documented barred owls and red squirrels living in that area, which are both native species that we want to keep in that area that already have to fight for existence against invasive species. We also have mule deer that live in that area, and I know for a fact there's at least 1 beekeeper in our area. And in building where he wants to build, the area behind him is the Port Orchard Greenbelt. Anybody that owns property along that Greenbelt won't be doing anything with that property anyway, and can access their property from Port Orchard Boulevard if necessary. So they don't need a 15-foot easement, as was mentioned at the last time we were here for this topic, that he would grant that owner 15-foot easement to that property. That owner's not going to need to get to that property. He can't do anything with it. It's in a greenbelt. My children have lived along that street for the last 20 years. They, with a lot of reluctance, that I already let them ride their bikes up and down Hull Avenue because of speeders. We have sewer lines that are constantly being taken care of there. We have a lot of other road issues that don't need to be mentioned tonight, but please consider all of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Others wishing to comment?
Good evening. My name is David Bryce. This is Julie Elbert. We have a unique position with this Smith Street vacation. I just want to make myself available for any questions that the City Council may have if they have come up with any on the work study. But I also want to take the opportunity to post a formal objection on city record of the new information that was entered in on October 19th after the minutes were closed. It's a promise of an easement from Dave Preston. And I believe at the end of the statement, someone had wanted written information on what Mr. Preston was promising on allowing 15-foot easements, or actually he was parceling out 15-foot easements to George Wolf, an additional 15 feet to myself, and then someone had asked for that in writing. This is the furthest thing from that. It's completely opposite. I don't know if anyone has seen this through their work study, or if is this something new to the city council? It has been presented. Okay. This is completely new information that was added after the record was closed. So I think we should take a little more time to investigate this. It is not entered into the city ordinance. So if the city were to take action on this street vacation tonight, there's without making an amendment to the ordinance, Dave Preston would have no legal obligation to follow this promise. So it would have to be changed into the ordinance of the street vacation. There are no terms of the easement or road maintenance requirements, which since it would no longer be my land, I would have to have some kind of assurance that I could step in and maintain that easement that we parceled out or given away. There's no dual responsibility of maintenance. So I think these are all things that we should possibly postpone until we could get a clear definition of what Mr. Preston was talking about, either parceling out the land or giving easements, and see if maybe there might be an agreement on such a situation. We are very leery of easements because Mr. Preston has made comments that he was going to build homes and sell them. So we could be dealing with multiple owners over the course of our lifetimes and trying to then have the city help enforce these easements that would be granted. We've had several situations with this land next to us. It took the city almost 3 years to respond to a order. And if it wasn't for the previous mayor, Tim Matthews, to assist us with that, we would still be living next to that situation. So our confidence in the city to move quickly on these things is very limited, and we would like to definitely have the city's support with these items of easements. I don't know if you have any questions through your work studies that I could answer, or if you would like me to.
Thank you for your comments. If the
Okay.
council has questions, I'll ask them.
Okay, thank you.
Others wishing to comment this evening?
I'm Dave Preston. In regards to the vacation there, as the meeting was, our last meeting was coming to a close, you wanted to have your legal team look at it, and so I had mentioned that I would be willing to grant a 20-foot easement, egress and ingress for Dave there, Mr. Bryce, and that's why this was written up. And I also submitted the paperwork he's talking about were just pictures of the right-of-way. And I had a laser out there and I measured what he was using right now. I think you all have pictures of that.
It's in everybody's
Okay,
packet.
and it
Yes,
has
is.
measurements on there. And it looks like he's using about 38 feet of it is all. So, and I'm offering him the use of 50 feet. And the easement for the very back piece, Mr. Wolf, I'm giving him an easement so he doesn't get landlocked. And, you know, this property has been plotted for 3 lots since the beginning of time. And I've talked to the county and they said there's no problem going back to that. You know, I'm trying to build a decent product that looks nice and reflects his place and a couple of the other places that are really kept up well. And, you know, that's our goal. I mean, I don't need the easement to get 3 lots. I'm just trying to get the easement so they're nicer lots, you know, for the neighborhood as well as everything else. So I may not be doing this perfectly the right way because I'm not familiar with the process necessarily. So I'm just trying to get through this. But we've been waiting for months now, Now, to wait another month or two is just, it's too long. You know, I've had to wait probably 3 months at least right now, and I'd like to get moving on those projects. And it's my understanding that in the designated city zone there, that we're looking for urban growth. Houses on a little bit smaller lots, but still have the quality of a bigger lot. So I'm really trying to work with Mr. Bryce. I don't want to affect his life or his property values negatively in any way. I'm bending over backwards to give him that use of that easement, and he's getting 30 feet already by himself. So he's not using 50 feet or 60 feet, the width of that right-of-way right now. So, I wondered if you had any questions for me?
When we get to that business item, that would be the time. This is a moment
Okay.
to make comment and make yourself available to the council when we get to that business item. Okay, others wishing to comment on any item on the agenda this evening? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Leslie Hassett. I'd like to comment on this development on Hull Avenue. I was late, so I apologize. I didn't hear what was said just before this. But the first time that we discussed this, I apologize. I forgot his name. What is our gentleman's name here? Anyway, the man who wants to have Smith Street vacated. I heard him say last time, I'm going to get 3 houses in there one way or the other. That's a quote. So his statement that I want to make this nice for the neighbors, I'm not going to be making junky houses. What I got out of that was his intention is to build 3 houses, whether you give him the tax title or not, or vacate Smith Street. If you don't vacate that, his intention is to build 3 on that smaller amount of land. He's arguing that that's legal, according to the county, no problem. But the issue is whether you're going to vacate Smith Street. So I question that his true motive is to create something that's nice for the neighborhood. He told me in person when I talked to him one day on the street. I didn't know what was going on. It was the first day the public notice sign was put up there. And so I said, hey, what's going on? Well, I suggested that the deer walk through that it's, please do something that's in character with our quaint neighborhood. And he said, this is my financial future. So why would you approve this? For his financial future. It is not good for the rest of us in this neighborhood. This is city property. Nobody in the neighborhood wants you to do this except him for his financial future. So the other thing I want to say is I had mentioned that there is a sign for the deer, that yellow sign that the city has, and there is one, I said, that's up towards Lund, Tremont, when you're coming down. There's also one at the bottom, on Port Orchard Boulevard near Tremont. There's also one towards the bottom of Port Orchard Boulevard when you're going up. I noticed another sign that has the deer image on Melcher, where this other development is under review.
Your time's up this evening. Thank you for your comments.
Please consider the whole neighborhood, not one person's financial interest.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wanting to comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Katie Johnson. Can you hear that?
Yep.
How's that?
Yep.
My name's Katie Johnson. My partner is Dave Preston, and we live in a historical house near the courthouse. So my goal in moving to this neighborhood was to keep it quaint, keep it old, keep it something that people would want to live in for a long time, raise their children. I'm a big believer in restoration, keeping things as they are. I'm a big believer in putting new things in areas that are going to enhance the neighborhood. What's nice about this property is it's in an older area. We, Dave and I, want to enhance the neighborhood. I mean, I would think that I would rather see a nice home, whether it, be an old home or one replicated like one with a porch or whatever, as opposed to an empty lot or an old bunker or a double wide. So we really want to work with you. I'm really big into, I would love for our city to come alive again. I would love for it just to be an area where everybody is happy and everybody wants to walk downtown. Everybody wants to walk up to Hull. So we're a very organic people. So we really want to make everybody happy. But yet we want to rebuild Port Orchard into a beautiful city that people want to move to and live in and be proud of. And that is my hope for the future of Port Orchard. So that is why I moved here from Seattle. So anyway, that is what I would like to say to the City Council, to everybody. That's how Dave and I, that's our beliefs and how we would like to present ourselves. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to address the council for anything on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the first citizen comment period. We are on to the consent agenda. Anyone wishing to approve the consent agenda? Make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as modified.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Consent agenda is approved. We have no presentations or public hearings. We are on to business item 7A that we've received quite a bit of testimony on. Ms. Cates, do you want to speak at all to the contact you had today and whether...
Yes, so I received an email from Mr. Alan Wallace, who is Mr. David Bryce's attorney, who mentioned something along the lines of what Mr. Bryce said about the City Council amending the ordinance regarding if it's to be approved, amending it to include something along the lines of the easement being part of it. That is not something that the City Council has the authority to compel a private citizen to do. So I conveyed the information back to Mr. Wallace that if the parties of Mr. Preston and Mr. Bryce could come to an agreement on that easement before the City Council votes on it, perhaps we could postpone the vote again to next City Council meeting. I don't know if that's something that you'd be interested in exploring, but it seems to be a sticking point and something that perhaps the parties could reach an agreement privately.
Our thought was this afternoon, if both parties thought they could reach an agreement, then maybe the council would want to consider postponing. But if both parties doesn't feel like that's going to happen, if that's going to take away the objections
Right.
to the vacation, then maybe that's how they would want to proceed. And if both parties don't want it to do that, then council would continue their deliberations, and we would you would take action on this evening. So, do we want to ask that question, or do you want to just start your deliberations?
I'd like to start deliberations.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
I do have a follow-on question for the attorney, or maybe staff.
Do we need a motion before we?
Yeah, we probably do.
We haven't even read this item yet.
Is there a motion you put on the table?
I would move to adopt an ordinance vacating a portion of the city's right-of-way commonly known as Smith Street as presented.
Second.
A second. Now, discussion. Yes, Mr.
Okay, so a question for staff is, if we take action tonight, it's going to go one of two ways, pass or fail. And if it fails, is there a prohibition on reapplication for a right-of-way vacation within a certain amount of time?
No, there's nothing on the books that says that you can't reapply for street vacation at a later time.
So in theory, we could make a decision one way or the other, and if it doesn't go in favor of the developer, they could look at trying to negotiate something with the neighbor down the road. Conceivably.
Well, I think that only applies in one form of the decision. If we
Right.
decide to deny, then obviously we can revisit. If we decide to vacate, then it's too late. It's sold.
Right.
I am so confused on this. So I just have some general educational questions I need answered. And we had a lot of material in our packet regarding this. So, as I understand it, could you put up like this picture? Or even better yet, this picture if you have it. Okay. Up a little bit. Up, there we go. Okay.
Now that picture, though, is the picture that was provided by Mr. Bryce.
Right. It's an illustration. So I didn't get up there and have to draw it.
Actually, I provided that.
Correct.
Excuse me, Mr.
Correct.
President, yes.
It's just an illustration. But the right-of-way is 60 feet wide. Correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. And as I understand it, when we vacate it, we vacate the complete 60 feet.
Correct.
Okay. Now, what we received was in our packet, and it was part of the ordinance, was it part of the ordinance?
It's probably the legal description.
The
where it
legal description.
talks about, so the petitioner is required to provide City Council a legal description describing his new parcel should the council vacate it. So he would own, his legal description would be 30 feet.
Okay, so, correct. Now, his legal description that we have here is just that 30 feet. It does not attach to any of the properties abutting the right-of-way.
Does not attach there.
Go to the other one. The part that's colored is the part that Mr. Preston would acquire. That's the 30 feet that we have the legal description for.
The pink and the yellow would be what Mr. Preston would acquire should the council vacate, correct?
Correct, okay. Now, my concern is the other 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Is a legal description created, is a parcel created for that particular 30 feet? And then who owns that property? Or is it broke in two and the abutting property owners own it?
So the way I understand it, and I'll have the legal counsel jump in if I'm misinterpreting anything. So state RCW, or the RCW states that a petitioner can vacate a right-of-way. So Mr. Preston's presenting to vacate 60 feet wide and 250 feet long.
Everything we read says he's asked to vacate a portion of the right-of-way.
I guess
a portion of
Smith Street.
Yeah,
oh, so
portion
it's
of
just
Smith Street.
Because Smith Street goes all over the city.
Correct.
Okay.
So he's asking to vacate a portion of Smith Street, 60 feet by 250 feet long.
Okay.
So state statute says that he can vacate. So the state statute says that he has to provide the city a legal description of his new property. So that's what he's provided. He's only allowed by state statute to receive 50% of that. So he's going to receive 30 feet of that right away, and the adjacent property owner is going to receive the other 50%, which is 30 feet. And it's my understanding, I don't know how the assessor does it, but since the petitioner is only required to provide his legal description, I'm assuming they take that legal description and divide it upon themselves. But the adjacent property owners are not required to submit to the assessor their new legal description, only the petitioner and what they want.
So can I get clarification though? If you vacate a street, you're not required to vacate the entire street.
No,
can
the
you?
applicant gets to choose what portion of the street that they want to vacate.
So they could just vacate the north half of Smith Street.
Correct. However, in this unique situation, Mr. Preston owns this parcel and this parcel. So he wanted to vacate this whole strip. And so the code says, RCW states that if a petitioner chooses to vacate a portion of the right-of-way, then once the right-of-way is vacant or approved, then 50% of that right-of-way will automatically go to each abutting property owners. That's it. It doesn't say you can divide it 10%, 20%. It just says 50% of the vacating property will be going to each adjacent property owners. So this is how it's going to go.
That's
Right,
if you,
so-
is there a possibility to vacate just 30 feet of it?
Yes.
The council can modify it. You, and in previous years, the council has modified street vacation to say, hey, we don't want to vacate this whole strip. This is what we want to vacate. You bring it back to the petitioner. It either accepts it or denies it.
Yeah, we've vacated half.
But
Right.
So you could vacate the northern, or I don't know if this is north, but the
the
upper
north
half. At the same time, that doesn't necessarily address Mr. Bryce's concern that he doesn't have access to that 30 feet anymore. Just throw that out there.
Correct.
This is just for clarification. I was confused.
If he chose, and then he would, if the proposal had come to us to vacate 30 feet of it, then he would only be paying 50% of that appraised value.
Or it's the same issue as well. He's wanting to vacate 60 feet by 250 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever that appraised value is, he's required to pay the city 50% of that appraised value, period.
Correct. And if he did just 30 feet, then
Be
he
30
would
by 150 or 250, whatever that appraised value. And we
Right.
don't determine that until after the council's decided to vacate the property.
Right. Okay, I wanted to be clear on the legal descriptions and who was going to own it. So if in fact, and I don't think I can talk about this part, those 3 parcels back there.
This, I think it's this one, and this one. So 12, 13,
I'm
and 14.
going the other direction.
So 11, 10, 9, and
Right.
8. So these 3 here.
Right, if
Okay.
those were to sell independently, do they then get the access, or do they then own that abandoned or vacated right away in front of their lots?
Yes, because when the assessor goes in and applies that vacated right-of-way, it's my understanding that they attach it to these separate parcels. So this is a legal description, this is a legal description, this is a legal description. This may be all one legal description, but because this was platted, it's my understanding he's got some vested rights as to how he can plat that. I don't know anything about that. That would be a land use issue, but
Right.
It's my understanding that this vacated right-of-way will be broken up into 4 parcels, and then how they split it between how it's platted, I'm not quite sure. I think that's more of an assessor, but that's my understanding. It'll be applied to those.
Okay.
Comments? You ready to vote on this?
Okay.
All in favor, we're going to be voting on adoption of an ordinance accepting the petition to vacate a portion of city right-of-way commonly known as Smith Street. All in favor, say aye. Hearing none. Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. So that passed 0-5. So it is not approved. We will move on to 7B, which is adoption of ordinance number 038-16 and amending chapter 13.04.020 of Port Orchard Municipal Code to address daycare sewage fees for facilities with 6 children or less. Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. At the August 6, 2016 Utility Committee meeting, and upon receipt of a written request from Ms. Kirkham, an operator of a small local daycare, Committee members and staff discussed the rationale behind the current bi-monthly sewage rates for Class 17 daycare facilities, and the Utility Billing Department suggested amendment to Chapter 1304-020 POMC, being a reduction of the basic bi-monthly fee from $222 to $111, being the same as a Class 1 single-family residence, and the $110 surcharge added to daycare facilities with 7 to 25 children. The proposed amendment does not increase the total sewage fee for daycare facilities with 7 to 25 children, but does reduce by half the sewage fee for daycare facilities with 6 or less children. Upon initial review and support at committee level and upon further discussion at the October 8th, 2016 work study session, the staff proposed amendments, and they are presented within the attached ordinance. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt Ordinance 038-16, thereby amending Chapter 1304-020 Port Orchard Municipal Code to address daycare sewage fees for facilities with 6 children or less.
Okay, Ms. Lucarelli.
I move to adopt ordinance number 038-16, thereby amending Chapter 13.04.020 POMC to address daycare sewerage fees for facilities with 6 children or less.
Second.
And in a second, is there any discussion of this issue?
We had quite a lot of discussion on this, and I think it made a great deal of sense to adopt this.
It was a reasonable thing to do.
We will be now voting on adoption of an ordinance to address daycare sewage fees for facilities with 6 children or less. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We are on to an adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Compraise for appraisal review of the proposed Bros property purchase. Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you. Mr. Mike Bros has requested the vacation of right-of-way adjacent to his property located east of Bethel Road, 1350 Bay Street. During the review of the vacation, it was noted that he was also interested in purchasing city property obtained from default of the 1983 ULID. In accordance with RCW 3594-040, the city must be paid fair market value for the property. Mr. Bros provided the city a proposal prepared by Pentagon Valuation Incorporated dated February 2014. The city felt the appraisal was outdated and is seeking the review of the appraisal to verify the fair market of the property. In order to proceed with the purchase request, the city is required to provide an appraisal review. Therefore, on October 25th, 2016, City of Port Orchard Public Works Department selected 5 qualified firms from the city's current professional services roster, Exhibit A of Resolution 07316 attached, for main category real estate and property services and subcategory appraisals. Staff then reviewed the statement of qualifications for the 2 interested firms and selected Compraise, a sole proprietorship, as being the most qualified professional services firm for the project. On October 28, 2016, the city received a fee proposal from Compraise in the amount of $2,000 for the Bros appraisal review. Once the appraisal has been reviewed, the next step will be for the council to hold a public hearing declaring the property for surplus. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution thereby approving a contract with Compraise being a sole proprietorship in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for the Bros appraisal review and documenting the professional services procurement procedures pursuant to RCW 39.80.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution thereby approving a contract with Compraise being a sole proprietorship in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for the Bros appraisal review and documenting the professional services procurement procedures pursuant to RCW 3980.
That was a mouthful.
Yes.
You have a motion and a second. I have one question, Mr. Dorsey. This $2,000, I know you had to go through a process to select these folks. Are we being reimbursed for this $2,000?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Mr. Clausen?
Kind of along those lines, do we have any kind of a guesstimate as to the value of this property that we're being assessed? Or we're it's crazy?
The value, no, there was a value in the appraisal.
Right, which is 4,000. I guess you guys don't know that part, do you? So the purchaser has offered. So the two marks up there are the two parcels that he's interested in purchasing from the city, and he's offered $2,000 for each parcel.
It's really going to cost us $2,000 to appraise.
Yeah, 4,000.
Sounds like something you'd get on a Popeye movie. You're gonna spend $2,000 today to get $4,000 tomorrow.
Well, the other
Why doesn't he pay for it?
Good question.
response to this is, my understanding, Madam Attorney, is that if we sell this, the revenue from the sale has to go towards the ULID, since it's owned by that utility.
Right. Yeah, you know, from a public works perspective, this property has zero value for the city. It's problematic. It's in the area that was involved in the slide in 2008. It's the property up behind the Body Works salon, which that building used to be on the top of the hill back in the 60s until it went to the bottom of the hill in the 60s. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, Mr. Bros is looking at aggregating that entire property from Body Works all the way up to the yellow building, commercial building on Bethel. It's a slide-prone area. There's a lot of water that comes out of the hillside. Anything that we can do to have that property redeveloped and have brand-new curb gutter and sidewalks going down Bethel, as you know, it's very narrow, especially on that curve. You can see all the black marks where people hit the sidewalk on the curve. So I absolutely recommend this vacation and any other vacations of unopened right-of-way in that area to allow this development to go forward, because it's only going to benefit the city in the long run.
Technically isn't a vacation, this is a sale of surplus.
Well, this is a sale, but there's other proposed
It's
vacations.
a two-step process. He originally approached the city to vacate this property, and then that little strip, or the right-of-way, sorry, this little strip here, he owns this parcel. He wanted to vacate this whole strip. And during that review process, it was determined, well, why don't you just purchase that property there, and then you'll have more apt to have more of a means to vacate the right-of-way. So that's
I think
where
there's
we're here.
another half right-of-way on the south end that the DeKalb or whatever that alleyway is that he's looking at vacating, so.
Councilmember Ashby, do you have a question?
Well, I think maybe Clerk Reinerson answered it. Because the right-of-way and vacating the right-of-way is a totally separate action on separate property from the sale of the property that obviously we foreclosed on or something.
ULID did.
The ULID did, yeah. And the question today is, are we going to pay $2,000 to have the appraisal reviewed?
Yeah, it's known as the Wimpy rule.
Yeah, right, no, if we're going to sell it, we have to, and we wouldn't expect them to pay for our appraisal.
And I can tell you, if this helps any, and I can provide this information to you that was provided by the Finance Department, is that one of the assessments roll was for $793.40, and the other one was for, if this is correct, on the quit claim deed was for, just seen it, for $185.52.
So we might net $1,000.
And it was.
We might net $1,000.
And it was from, the quit claim deed was from 1966, and the other property was from the LID Improvement District number 60, which was done and adopted, let's see if I can find a date, 1964. It's when the city received the two parcels.
And we also.
ULID number 6?
60.
Oh, 16.
60. 60.
Oh,
60.
60.
And we also.
Before my time.
We also have to expend public works resources. We've had to go and cut alders and things because it isn't, traditional unopened right-of-way has the underlying fee ownership owner maintaining the trees. In this particular case, because they're property of the city, we've had to go up and have a tree service go in and cut trees down at adjacent property owners' request. So there is a cost to the city, there has been a cost to the city to maintain those properties.
Mr. Clausen?
Well, as been pointed out here, the issue tonight is if we're willing to spend $2,000 to determine the value of this property to see if this person is interested in buying it. So I would certainly suggest we move forward on it. And
Take care of business.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we will be voting on a resolution approving a contract with Compraise for appraisal review for the property, proposed Bros property purchase. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We are on to item number 7D, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with NL Olson Associates, Inc. for the Comfort Inn property acquisition project. Mr. Bond isn't here, Mr. Dorsey's taking over, and you're going to recuse yourself.
I just did.
Do we have enough to vote then?
I think so. You got him at 4. That's a quorum. Yeah.
Thanks for
I
getting
just don't make me break the tie.
Don't recuse anybody else, we're doomed.
Okay, the city obtained a grant to purchase a portion of the Comfort Inn property adjacent to Rockwell Avenue. In order to complete this transaction, a lot segregation and boundary line adjustment is required. Using the consultant selection process described in RCW 39.80, the city selected NL Olson Associates for the project as the most qualified firm. The project is described more fully in the attached scope of work. The proposed contract amount is a lump sum amount totaling $3,640. Staff recommends approval of a resolution approving a contract with NL Olson Associates for the Comfort Inn property acquisition project. And I guess I don't think Nick will mind if I interject that approving this contract by no way compels the money to be spent. I would say that you wouldn't move ahead with the boundary line adjustment until you knew that the property purchase was going to go through. So with that said, this just basically provides staff the ability to enter into a contract, but it doesn't compel the contract to be fully executed.
And on that note, the property owner was given their offer on the right-of-way. Was it today or is it tomorrow? It's this week.
No, they were given the offer on the property last week.
No, the property. Then there's the right-of-way pieces.
Today, they were presented the offer for the 8-foot easement in addition to the 12 that we already have.
Yeah, so offer's been presented, but we needed for them to get their offer on the easement before they would proceed. So that happened today. So this is just another step in this process, and we won't start this process until they accept our offer. So, Mr. Clausen?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the resolution approving a contract with NL Olson and Associates, Inc. for the Comfort Inn property acquisition project in amount not to exceed $3,650.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll be voting on a resolution approving the contract with NL Olson and Associates for the Comfort Inn property acquisition project. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We invite Council Member Lucarelli back, Mr. Dorsey. And if she gets back, we'll move on to item 7E. So item 7E is setting a public hearing date for an animal cat variance. Clerk Reinerson.
Yes. So on October 21st, 2016, the city clerk's office received a request for an animal variance from Mr. and Ms. Todd Stabervelt. If I'm pronouncing that right. The variance request is requesting to have a fourth animal, a cat, and for it to be licensed with the city. Pursuant to Municipal Code 7.01.0101 defines animal as animal is a female spayed female, male or neutered male animal, including any goat, horse, mule, cattle, swine, or other domestic livestock used to raise on a farm, and any living vertebrate creature, including reptiles or birds, and excluding any marine mammals, fish, or man. Animal also includes dogs or cats, unless specifically excluded. Portage Municipal Code 7.12.010 only requires that cats and dogs be licensed if they are over the age of 6 months. Portage Municipal Code 7.12.090 subsection 2 states that a request for a variance from ownership restrictions, as stated above, may be submitted to the City Council. Upon receipt of a completed variance application, the City Clerk shall set a date for the public hearing before the City Council. Notice of such public hearing shall be given to all adjacent property owners of the subject property not less than 10 days or more than 30 days prior to the date of the hearing. A variance shall be granted when A. The strict enforcement of the provisions of this chapter will create an undue hardship, and the variance will not create a health or safety hazard. Staff has provided the council the request for animal variance, and staff recommends the council to set a public hearing for an animal variance at the November 22nd, 2016 council meeting.
Councilmember Lucarelli?
I move to authorize the city clerk to set the public hearing date of an animal variance for November 22nd, 2016, and to notify all adjacent property owners as outlined in POMC 7.12.090.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion of the motion to set the hearing date. Hearing none. We will be voting on setting that hearing date as November 22nd. All in favor, say it aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The hearing has been set. We are on to 7F, approval of a public events application, McCormick Woods Turkey Trot Fun Run. Clerk Ryderson.
Yes, so each year several organizations request permissions to use the city right-of-way and city parks. The McCormick Woods Homeowners Association has submitted their application for a public event to use a portion of the city's right-of-ways on Saturday, November 19th. The 5K run/walk is to improve the sense of the community. The start and finish line will be at the McCormick Wood Clubhouse, and a map has been provided to showing the full route. City departments, fire department, and Kitsap Transit have reviewed the application and have submitted their recommendations and/or comments, which have been provided to you. Based on the comments provided by the city departments and local agencies, staff recommends approval of the event as presented.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the public event application for the McCormick Woods Turkey Trot Fun Run, allowing them to hold their public event using a portion of the city's parking lots and/or right-of-ways as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion of the item.
I think it's very nicely presented, and I look forward to voting yes on this.
All right, we'll be voting on approval of the application for the McCormick Woods Turkey Trot Fun Run. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Go trot turkeys. We are on to 7G, approval of a public events application, Seattle's Children Valentine's Fun Run and Walk. Clerk Greinerson.
Yes. So each year, again, several organizations request permission to use city right-of-way and/or parks. And the the Seattle Children's Hospital Allen Miller Guild has submitted their application for a public event to use a portion of the city's right-of-way on Sunday, February 12, 2017. The fun run/walk is to benefit uncompensated care at the Seattle Children's Hospital. The start and finish line will be at Whiskey Gulch, Annapolis area. A map has been provided outlining the full route. The permission is being sought now, so if approved, they can start advertising the event. City departments, fire departments, and Kitsap Transit have reviewed the applications and have submitted their recommendations and/or comments, which have been provided to you. And again, based on the comments provided by the city departments and local agencies, staff recommends approval of the event as presented.
Your motion.
I move, Mr. Mayor, to approve the public event applications for the Seattle Children's Hospital Fun Run Walk, allowing them to hold their public event using a portion of the city's parking lots and/or right-of-ways as presented.
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have discussion on this
Okay.
one. I have concern that it's what my concern is they're taking the run up Perry Avenue, and I have concern of, I want to know if they have indicated in their application that they had talked to all the business owners down in Annapolis, and I'm wondering if they have had any conversation with homeowners along Perry, because depending upon how long it is, how many runners they have, and Perry is such a narrow street on a Sunday afternoon, it may be disruptive to the residents. And so I'm wondering if there's been any communication with those residents, because they could easily take it back up Bay Street or Beach Drive.
Yeah, to my knowledge, they've only notified the businesses, not residential.
As a resident of Perry Avenue.
As a resident, I have no concerns, but I haven't been contacted by any of the people representing this run.
Other comments? Questions? Are we ready to vote? Okay. We'll be voting on approval of a public events application, Seattle Children's Valentine Fun Run. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. We are on to item 7H, approval of October 25th, 2016 council meeting minutes. Mr. Clausen, are you going to recuse yourself?
Going to
Or abstain? Excuse me.
from voting
abstain
on it.
from
I'm not
voting
gonna-
on it.
Yes.
You don't have to recuse yourself.
That's right.
It's getting late. So, anybody want to approve those minutes?
Oh, might as well go for 3.
Okay.
I move to approve the minutes, council minutes as presented.
Okay, I have the minutes of October 25th, 2016.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, and one abstention.
Aye.
All right. We have council committee reports. Finance Committee, Mr. Clausen.
Well, I guess for the public's benefit, I will just share that we had our day-long meeting with the department heads to go through the budget. The entire council was in attendance. Thank you all. I thought it went very, very well, and we'll be able to share the details at our work study.
We're on to Economic Development and Tourism.
And our next meeting will be Monday, November 14th, 9 o'clock here at Council Chambers.
Okay. Utilities.
Our next meeting is Monday, November 21st at 9:30 a.m. here at City Hall.
And Sewer Advisory Committee.
That meeting is November 16th at 6:30, and that will be at West Sound Utility District.
Okay. And Land Use.
So Land Use's next meeting is November 16th, 7:30 a.m. here.
And we're on to Lodging Tax Advisory. Mr. Chang isn't here, but I know that we referred a recommendation back to them. They have not met to this point. So, Festival of Chimes and Lights.
We just met on Monday, and everything is moving forward at a great pace. Our brochures have arrived, and we're in the process of getting those distributed. The staff was very kind to produce some posters for us, and those also are going to be distributed, and actually that process has been started already. So it's really now just taking care of a few of the logistics and planning the program, and we're pretty much there. So December 3rd is going to be the Festival of Chimes and Lights, and it promises to be yet another wonderful one.
Any other council reports from other meetings? KRCC.
No, I would just remind everyone that our KRCC legislative reception is this Thursday, the 10th at Clearwater Resort from 6 to 9.
Okay, thank you. I'll be there.
Me too.
On to the mayor's report. I got a few things here. One, if you haven't noticed the blue tub in the lobby, we're doing a holiday food drive to help support Helpline here at City Hall. So when you come to the next council meeting, help us out. Bring non-perishable food items, and we're also going to have blue bins down at the Chimes and Lights Festival. I regret to inform you that our budget meeting on December 5th on Monday, December 5th at 6 o'clock has been expanded on We have some requirements to meet some deadlines for the low impact development code before the end of the year, and we need to have a meeting for it. So we've chose that evening. I hope that's acceptable to everyone. It was kind of negotiated with the attorney's office and Mark last Friday. So we're going to keep you more than 5 minutes. We'll probably be about an hour that night. So
Are we still starting at 6? Or are we going to
planning on starting at 6. We'll do the budget hearing, and then we'll go into the low impact development. It's exciting stuff. Mark promises he's keep you on the edge of your seat. On better things, I was at my Super Tuesday, and at the Department of Emergency Management meeting, they're talking about a system called Nixle, N-I-X-L-E, that Bainbridge Island uses, and they're talking about getting it countywide and potentially for transit too. I think you guys have heard about this, and it's basically an app that you'll sign up for and what notifications you want, and you can get Department of Emergency Management notifications. I would say somewhat like a what are those, Amber Alert type? It wouldn't be that, but you'll get an alert about a road closure, a slide, or I thought it was pretty a neat thing that DEM was going to offer us. So, and you can sign up for geographic areas. I think it'll be a neat thing we can bring to our community. Unfortunately, we all know Moondogs has closed, but I have been in contact with the building owner, and he does plan to remodel the building and reopening it after the first of the year. So, a little more family-friendly restaurant and bar is what he envisions there. So, homeless committee, Cindy and Fred have been attending that, and I've got that's a ad hoc committee, and I haven't been staffing it. The city isn't taking any action. I had someone asking for our minutes from the meeting, and we don't have any. He didn't like that answer. We conferred with the attorney about the Open Public Meetings Act. Because the city isn't taking any action, it falls outside the Open Public Meetings Act. I'm the facilitator of the meeting, and there isn't any action taken by the city. If you want different direction of that, I don't want to, I don't intend to use staff resources or time for it, but if you want minutes and meeting minutes and to create those records, I would have to pay staff overtime to do that, and that isn't really something I wanted to do, and I just wanted to check in with you before. I did say no, so.
Right.
I heard Councilman Donlan's attending those meetings too.
Clancy has been attending as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you? Clearing up that I'm attending the meetings as well. Just the last one I missed.
Okay. I'm sorry. We had 22 people. We had about a dozen at the first meeting, 22 at the second meeting. So it's very well attended, and I'll talk more about it at a future meeting, some of the short-term and long-term goals we've come to.
If we have 3 council members there, we want to be mindful of that. And if another one shows up,
then we're creating a meeting.
We've been careful.
So yes. I just wanted to report at the Housing Kitsap meeting, we got a presentation on their new office space, potentially in a partnership with Kitsap Regional Library on some property by the new bridge there on Buckland, and it looks like a very promising project. And the reason they want to get out of the Norm Dick Center, it's a very costly office space, and they are the housing authority for everyone but Bremerton. So as a board member, we're going, it's expensive office space, and your people you're serving aren't in Bremerton, so we're looking to find them a new home. Beck and I attended the waste management ribbon cutting for their new CNG garbage trucks. They've put in a compressed natural gas fueling station. out at the industrial park, and they have 10 of these new garbage trucks, and I believe 10 more coming by the end of the year. They're quieter and obviously much more environmentally friendly, and I got to operate a garbage truck, so I might have a future career. I did very well, I thought, so.
If this mayor thing doesn't work out?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So in your mailbox, you'll see, yes,
Mr. Mayor, did they happen to indicate how much that fueling station cost?
They threw a number out, and it was.
I remember the trucks themselves were $325,000. I don't remember the fueling station, but it was more expensive than the trucks.
The CNG fueling station runs anywhere from $750,000 to $1 million. So that's quite an investment they've made into our community.
Wow.
It's not something that you easily pick up and move around.
It's capable of the fast fueling to top a truck off, but they've got this kind of area, and they're slow fueling them overnight. So they'll hook them all up, and it slow fuels them, when they park them overnight.
That might be a little less, but if it's capable of fast fuels,
it's capable of fast fueling.
They put in the big compressors. And
they did, but they're right on the main. They've got a big main that's coming through there.
It doesn't make a difference. It's a matter of compressing that gas to a PSI that can fill a truck in a reasonable amount of time.
And tossed in everybody's mailbox a draft, hopefully the last draft of the fire ILA. Yeah. And I just quickly, if I could point, we've got such a huge work study. I don't want to bring this to the work study. I'm going to bring this to a future council meeting. I have an ILA to develop with the county first before I want to bring this forward, but it could be as soon as 2 weeks, but it's got to be done by the end of the year. If you went to page 2, Section 3 speaks to all of the responsibilities related to International Fire Code that the county, that the fire district has. If you go to, on the next page, 3.4.1, it talks, this is the component that I'm waiting on a separate ILA with the county. The Fire District 7 will not perform plan reviews on buildings over 10,000 square feet or fire suppression systems that require pumps or multiple riser sprinklers. And the only exception to that is multifamily buildings that have what's called an R13 system, which I understand is not a complex system. So they're willing to do buildings that are over 10,000 feet, provided they're these simple systems. But the more complex systems, they don't have the expertise. The county has agreed to do that service for us, and that'll be a separate ILA. Jumping to page 5, this is something that's already in place, and this continuing forward that they will continue to do our annual inspections to all the commercial businesses within the city. Jumping to page 7, major change there is that we were getting this service for free, and we're now paying them annually $50,000 for this service. They have an employee that's costing about $120,000 that we're paying a portion of. Section 8 is language from the prior agreement that deals with Station 31. That was the city's asset, and provided that it remains a fire station until 2027. Then they get to keep it. If they ever chose not to have it be a fire station, then we get the property back. Next page, top of the page, number 9, has to deal with, we're going to get to use their property next to our McCormick Village Park for parking until they develop a fire station, and they just want to be indemnified for hazardous materials if the contractor, while he's building the park, had a fuel spill. That we won't, that we're responsible for that and not them. We still have to, Nick has to create the pass-through fees that passed on to the development community to pay for this, and that's all I've got on that, unless you have any questions. So come forward at a future council meeting. So just please read that and come to me with any questions you've got. That's all I have. Department directors. Mr. Dorsey, you have any? No, Mr. Clausen?
Can I interrupt and share some news?
Sure.
We have the election results, and the one I'm particularly interested in is the Cross Sound Passenger Ferry, and it is passing 42,234 yes, 40,842 no.
So what's the percentage difference?
50.8% in favor, 49.2% against.
That's really close.
1,000 votes
1,000 votes.
out of 82,000.
Wow.
And how many left to be counted? You don't
This
know.
is the first counting that they
Yeah.
do tonight at
Yeah.
8:15.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Dorsey.
A couple quick things. So, for those of you wondering why the Neptune Marine barge is still parked out by the Cal Pier, the float lights had the wrong color on the powder-coated lights, not on the pier, but the float. So, those are scheduled to arrive this week. I think they're going to be installed Thursday, Friday, and the barge is promised to be out by like the 15th or 16th. So fingers crossed on that. And then November 21st is Super Monday. That's the day that the TIB board makes a decision on Tremont, which everybody's very tight-lipped and we don't even know, right? 21st.
I thought it was the 19th and 20th. I don't.
I thought it was Monday the 21st.
I'm making it
Oh,
up.
wait. Yeah, Monday the 21st. I think it's the 21st.
It's that week, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was Thursday. I thought they met on a Thursday and Friday.
Thursday the 17th and 18th?
Yeah. I don't
Okay.
know. We'll check it out. I'll talk to some of
Anyway,
them.
we're getting down to the last few days before we know for sure. But we're moving ahead with everything as promised, so that's it.
I have nothing tonight.
So the only thing I have is that you may see more files in the front area and back by Janine and myself's desk. It's our annual rotation of files. So as we shift them throughout City Hall and shift them to the archivist, you'll see more and more probably from now till about middle of January as we make that shift. So other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Diener.
Just a reminder that we have some Uber King Tides coming up on the 14th, I believe.
That's right. Yes.
Mark's ready, he says. All right. Okay, we are done with staff reports, citizens' comments. We're on the second citizens' comment period. Yes, Ms. Harmon.
I've never been to the meetings and that on the health issue and the homeless. Maybe a tape recorder, going to the meetings and clear, so people that if they chose to want to hear what was going on there could at least come in and listen to the tapes. And that way, if anybody's upset, they would have a record of it. Just an idea.
Okay, thanks for your comments. Bobby?
Comment on Halloween. It was quite an event, and we had probably, I know for myself, I had close to 500 children. And the candy store said she felt like there were 1,000. I don't know whether that was true or not, but I was hoping that maybe next year the city could somehow help us with a little more security downtown. I thought perhaps with all the children walking up and down the street that we might have, I don't know, I don't want to say policemen, but just a little more guarding the children, because there were so many cars and so many kids on the street. And I hope that we can make it even a bigger event with some, I don't know, apple bobbing, or the market seemed very busy, and overall it was a great night. The library felt they had close to 900 there, so it was good. Thank you.
Okay, other comments? All right, that being said, the meeting's adjourned.